Well, those events in the Middle East are casting a long shadow over a meeting of NATO defence chiefs. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has made what he calls a critical trip to Brussels, hoping to keep his country's war with Russia in the news headlines. Zelenskyy wants more NATO support through the winter to enable Ukraine to push back Moscow's troops. Ministers have been reiterating that recent events will not deflect their attention. Let's talk to our correspondent Alex Cadier, watching events for us in Brussels. Alex, President Zelenskyy clearly and understandably trying to keep the international focus on Ukraine.
Yeah, Jamie, you're absolutely right. Now, he was asked that question directly. Are you worried that the events in the Middle East may distract Allied support for Ukraine? He said, I'll be honest with you, of course we're afraid. If there's another tragic war in the world, it may divide support. He said that he asked NATO partners if their support would continue or would diminish. They said it would not diminish, and he said, but who knows? So clearly a concern by the Ukrainian president, who came here to clearly make a statement reiterating NATO support. Now, it seems, though, those NATO allies have responded. We heard just a few moments ago the Estonian defense minister was just around the corner here saying it is our duty to maintain support for Ukraine. That was also echoed by the Spanish defense minister. We've seen the UK pledging £100 million worth of military equipment, £200 million being pledged by the United States, including air-to-air missiles, including 155mm artillery ammunition, as well as ammunition for those long-range artillery HIMARS. So clearly, it's not just words, there are deeds being put into this. Now let's listen to President Zelenskyy himself laying out exactly what his country needs.
Air defense is a significant part of the answer to the question of when this war will end, and whether it will end justly for Ukraine. And I'm confident that it can be so, it will be so. Everyone can see what the protection of the sky gives.
Alex, the violence between Israel and Hamas is obviously going to be discussed there. What are the options, do you think, for NATO, if any?
Well, at the moment, there isn't much of a collective response from NATO. They haven't yet gotten to the discussions about the violence in the Middle East. We know that the Israeli defense minister will brief the NATO defense ministers at their meeting here tomorrow. That will most likely lead to some announcement or some movement from NATO on that particular conflict. What is true is that individual countries are, of course, expressing their solidarity, their support, and also condemning the terrorist attacks by Hamas. So certainly, at the moment, NATO is meeting, is trying to figure out what their position will be, but certainly hearing from the situation on the ground from Israel's defense minister. The other big entity in Brussels, of course, is the European Union. That has been a bit more of a messy response, to say the least. That conversation around whether or not development funding from the EU to Palestine would be cut has been clarified, and that it isn't being cut because there are no payments expected in the near future. But certainly that is the kind of action that you can expect to see from the EU. We'll have to wait a little bit longer to see NATO's collective response.
Alex, thank you. Our correspondent Alex Cadier in Brussels.